We're going to go through the radiant breath as that was a request. If you want to take your bolster and support body here, feel free. So I'm going to grab my bolster in a moment, but also wanted to share. I'm just going to grab my strap, which is coming in. If you have maybe a strap that you loop up and you pop your feet through it. A lot of you know this one. I like to put a slow-mo ball in between my thighs inside the strap and then hug strap. And it just helps to support the lateral line. And you can feel this effect of spreading. So sometimes that doesn't want to come in and you want to have your legs straight, or you want to take the bolster and pop it up vertically under the knees. Take a few breaths, arrive, let body have any sort of movement that's needed. Maybe hands touch body with a heaviness through elbows. Maybe arms are out to the side, palms up or palms down, taking up space. So let the arms move away from body as much as they want to. That invitation to take up space if body wants to. Remember, if any support that you offer body and it doesn't feel good, then you come out. If eyes want to close or just soften and stay open, do so. Hey, if back of the hands are on the floor, you can do, and I'm just reaching my hands up so you can see it, is you can do a little extension through the fingers. You can reach through the thumbs and the fingers so that the back of the nails come towards the floor. And sometimes our thumb doesn't always reach the floor. And so just do a little bit of reaching so we feel the back of the knuckles and the fingers and the nails reach towards the floor. Feel that opening as you take a few breaths. Come up through the arm lines, into the torso, into the neck, and spread down through the body to the pelvis. And then just let the hands soften. And see if your fingers come to rest at a different place. We sometimes are curled in a place of flexion in the hands. I just want you to do that a couple times. Just reach the back of the fingers, thumb towards the floor. Feel the extension. Breathe here for a moment. And then just let that reaching soften. And just notice where the palm of the hand rests and just take some time, if it feels right, to feel that open ripple of spaciousness. Move up the arm. Notice where you do feel stuck at different times, where there's a pattern of compensation or miscommunication happening. Feel your feet, wiggle the toes. Notice your pelvis. As you come up into the pelvis, we're going to feel the radiant breath. So just starting with that relationship of the abdomen coming into our awareness. So if the diaphragm is moving with ease. Sometimes when we're in trauma, it gets stuck in that upward dome position and we breathe more from the upper chest. But when we start to allow the freedom of the diaphragm to come and we release that fight or flight, maybe from the psoas, that connectivity into the diaphragm, we can feel that we open ourselves up to be a receiver of the breath. So each time you inhale, can you open yourself up to receive the inhalation so the diaphragm contracts and it flattens down, pushes on the abdominal organs, and the belly expands? The ribs, the rib cage, trying to feel the breath a little bit more laterally on expansion, maybe even coming up of widening through shoulder blades, a spreading through collarbone, but only if it arrives there. And then each time you exhale, the diaphragm relaxes back up into a dome shape, belly deflates, ribs gather. We're moving from breathing through front body to more of allowing the inhalation to be received, the contracting of the diaphragm, belly expands, this lateral expansion into side body, and letting it spread up into this three-dimensional breath at once through shoulder blades and collarbone widening to the sides of the room. And as you exhale, the diaphragm relaxes, belly deflates, ribs gather, and softening back into yourself. You just let yourself ride the wave of the breath. In time, you might even feel the back ribs expanding and pressing into the floor. And at the very end, that's when the front of the body comes in. There's this lift and gentle widening that comes in and through the rib cage. But the lateral expansion is where we're coming from. Feel your three-dimensionality as you exhale back inward. Notice that sense of heaviness arriving. And as you inhale and expand, notice that sense of lightness and spaciousness that you can not only feel on the surface of the skin, but some of you can dive a little bit more inward and feel the inner cavity of the body and spaciousness within. So this radiant breath is a breath that radiates through the whole body. And this three-dimensional awareness. When we find a deeper breath, then we can tap into feeling how the vagus nerve moves and really spreads through the lower part of the lungs and also the visceral of the digestive system. Just giving you some space to explore your breath. Relaxing into the support of the strap, of the bolster, of the blanket, or the slomo ball. You might even feel a gentle nod of the head and a yes, or very softly in a no. Notice the jaw softening. We brought in this morning that spreading of the neck, the widening. Because the jaw is on a hinge and the lower jaw is the one hinging away, you can just feel the lower jaw relax, almost like it's a sling. Notice if when you release above the neck or the skull, if that brings any ease down the neck to the upper ribs or collarbone, and that is widening. So I want you to notice if breathing into this lateral expansion and back body, and then letting the front body open, is a natural awareness of breath for you, or if you tend to breathe more front body or upper chest. You can take some time here to let the body wiggle. Keep the awareness of the radiant breath with us. As you are meeting yourself in your practice on your mat, you let your body lengthen, reach, yawn. Okay, release any support that's no longer needed. And then just take a moment to lengthen. We're just going to do some tension and release. So just going to lengthen up through the arms, down through the legs. And if you don't want to go all the way up through the arms, you can just go to the side too. Just create some tension through your body. And then as you exhale, let go. Let's do that a couple more times. Just making you come back into body, feeling yourself. Create a little bit of tension. And then release. Oh, maybe a sigh and a sound. And I might want to come in one more time. Hmm. Good. And then from this extension, just notice, is my lower back feel okay? And if it doesn't, just rebend your knees, press your feet into the floor, and bring your hands to your lower back. And then sweep the hands down through the thoracolumbar fascia over the buttocks. And just let that lengthen as you replace your back body on the floor. And then extend the legs and notice, that feels pretty good. Okay, at any time, if the arms don't want to be overhead, they don't have to. You can always put the arms as well, which I'm just going to grab my bolster because one of my shoulders is sagging. I would like that. You can put the arms over top. Just going to go into Bananasana. So we're going to walk our legs to the right. Bring the left leg to meet. Notice if the torso wants to also come in. So you're creating that crescent moon shape. And then as you pause here, you might just stay with the legs together. You might even cross the left one over the right, reaching through the toes, the inner heel, the outer heel of that left leg, feeling that whole lateral line from the metatarsal of the big toe, that base, all the way through the outer ankle, the perineal, muscles on the side of the leg, to the iliotibial band. Feel it through your rib cage, your obliques. And you might even have some breath there. My body's wanting to articulate and kind of move a little bit into the movement and then recoil away from it. Head might want to turn towards the arm or away. Just keep the movements really aware here. As you come out, just soften. Notice if you need a little bit of shaking and then walk arms and legs over to the other side. And you notice as your outside leg, want to cross over. So if you went to the left, it's right, crossing over left so that you can feel this release through the lateral line. You might breathe. If there's a little kind of movement, my rib cage is shifting from left to right a little bit to move into the lateral line and then recoil away from it. This is that exploratory play that we can bring in. Sometimes the head wants to nod and yes or no. Good. And then just taking some time to come out. Notice how you feel, rebending the knees. We're going to do a little bit of tapping and go into our one of our myofascia tools. And this one is called plow. And so you can bring the leg up. I'm just going to adjust my camera tiny bit here. Okay, so you can choose as you bring one leg up or both. Sometimes with bringing the legs up, it might feel a little bit uncomfortable. So you can always have, a slimming ball, which is kind of the trickiest one to put underneath. If you have both legs, you can might find, oh, I want to put a bolster under the pelvis, or I want to put a chip foam block under the pelvis, or I want to have a folded blanket under the pelvis, just a little bit of height, which allows this connection here of coming up into the body. So notice from this morning if that spiral line wants to come in or part of the deep front line, so opposite hip to opposite rib. And we're going to move just in a little bit of tapping. So starting and moving with the lymphatic, the plow myofascia tool works with the lymphatic system. And so we're going to start to move. So we're just going to tap from ankle all the way up to the shin. So not tapping on the malleolus, which is the ankle bone or the shin bone. We're not tapping on the knee. We're just going through the back of the calf and inner side of the calf. And then I want you to really kind of feel this lateral line of the foot. And you can put a little bit of pressure there on the outer line and then just slowly drag the dowel up towards the knees. So just getting into the perineal, the brevis the longest. So the brevis is the lower ankle, the longest connects up to the knee, and we're just creating that lengthening tool. We're helping to flush out any stagnation. And so you're just creating pressure in one direction. So what we're doing is we're trying to plow through the myofascial tissue, and the pressure's coming in just one direction. So we're working with lymphatics, so we're just moving from ankle to lower leg. You can just try other side as well. See if you get drawn to maybe bring this into a different part of the body. And we're just going to do lower leg, and then we're going to move up to outer leg in the upper thigh. Sometimes when I feel a little place, and sometimes my body wants to go back into combing, which is going up and down. See if you can feel that plowing technique. And so you can do it with a ball, but I'm doing it with a dowel, which is another form of awareness. And then just feel as you take note, how do the lower legs feel? You might even, so this is when if you don't have a dowel, you can always use a ball, but just take the dowel down, and I've just put it under my feet, and you can just roll either one foot or both feet and just come into that outer side of the foot. So what I've done is I've externally rotated my leg, and so we're on the lateral arch, and you can just roll through lateral. Remember, you can use the softness of something that really resonates with you, and then just go through the sole of the foot, connecting to the base of the big toe. It's the start of this line. Feel the breath. Okay, and then just pause and see how the lower leg feels from just doing the plow and a little bit of rolling. And then you might just switch. And now we're going to do it in the opposite order. So we're going to start at feet, and then we're going to plow the other leg. Good. So you can roll. Yeah, great. Good, Michelle. Using maybe even the slow ball. I find on this one side for me, on the lateral arch, it's really held for me. Any of us that have had an ankle injury, this is going to be a line that you will want to be aware of and strengthen and release. You can go from tippy toes and standing down into chair pose, really great. Okay, and then check in how the foot is feeling, and then grab hold and just go into the plowing on the outside of the leg. And notice if along the way you feel just a little adhesion where there's just a little miscommunication happening in the fascia. You might even hover there or pause and put a tiny bit of pressure with the dowel if you want. And I'll do it on the side because it's easier to see. So the ball stacking, I find the ball stacking because it's such like the most intense pressure of all of the tools. Sometimes my body has a little aversion to it. So I just want to show you an easier way. So you can have, if you were going to put a ball, you could put the ball on the area of the tissue that you're focusing on, and then the other part of the ball on the top. But I've also just done it with fingers where I'm just pressing through this outer lateral line, and then I'm going right kind of around the shin, and I'm just kind of creating a little hook. And then you just hold this and you create that ball stacking, but you're doing it with your fingers. And you can have the pressure coming in slowly. And just see, remember, if you create this pressure in one area, if the sensation is not dissolving or softening, then you do want to let it go. But if it is, you can even increase the pressure. So remember, that's a way to judge. Is this enough? My body enjoying this? I'm going to go into the lateral line. So we can do this by just rolling onto our side. We can use the bolster, and I'm just grabbing my squash ball for a moment as my body was asking for my squash ball. So you can have also the slow-mo ball on the supporting the side of the head if you want, and also have your arm. But if you bring the support of the knee, the shin, and the foot on the ball. And I'm just using my hand here just because my microphone's here. So I'm just creating a little bit extra support. Okay. Then we can take the ball. So I've got a squash ball that my iliotibial band is asking for, but I'm going to use the pink just because it's easier for you to see. But you're going to start on the outside of the connection, and then you're going to just roll. So it's putting pressure kind of up the iliotibial band, and what you're doing is you're plowing up the iliotibial tract. So you're putting pressure. We're going to go up because we're going to work with the lymphatic system towards the hip. So we're flushing stagnation out of the tissue and then creating hydration here. And then remember, if you kind of get along the way and a little bit of combing is coming in where you want to pause, or you want to pause and do a little, I love doing ball stack with plow. I find they work really well together. And so for me, the iliotibial tract, I feel a little bit kind of on this part. You can also put a ball underneath. So I've got a little bit kind of coming on the top of my iliotibial tract. And I've put the ball underneath on my inner thigh. So just pausing here, and you can feel that stacking. So it's like kind of clamping around the muscle and the fascia in a certain area to get a little bit deeper. So this is the deepest pressure into the bone. Remember, if this doesn't feel good, then you let it go. Okay, so it might be maybe you just put your hand instead. Maybe it's just a finger on the other side, and you don't have to go so deep. Okay, so I like working this ball stacking a little bit softer. And just go through the iliotibial band. Okay, we're just going to do one side to start. And we're going to go into 3 heel pose. Once we release the iliotibial tract. So just take some time to finish that up. I'm just doing one side, so you're still on right side. And then different ways. So I've done this different ways with students where we've put the bolster underneath the head and found the awareness of external rotation. So getting into abductors. So knee kind of on a 45, toes pointing upright. And then you're moving with keeping that connection of the spiral line from this morning as you lift and lower the leg, moving from the outer hip, the abductors, the glutes. And then I've also had a few kind of awarenesses where bringing in the slow-mo ball and just gently contracting it behind the back of the calf and the thigh, because some people that I work with, they get a lot of tension of their hamstrings overtaking when the abductors um, should be working. So sometimes moving in this awareness of up and down with 3 heel pose, coming and squeezing the slow-mo ball. Other awareness is bringing, and I do this one a lot in my hips and shoulders class. So working internal, external rotation. So I've got the slow-mo ball behind. So I'm bringing the thighs together, making sure head, torso, hips all in one line. And then the shin in the foot is upright. Okay, so this is internal. And then without rolling back too much, you want to stay heavy on right side. You're going to go into external rotation. Okay, and so watch that you don't go too far. And then you can go down into internal and then feel external. And notice these outer abductors, the glutes working, specifically the medius. And if you're weaker here on these side kind of cores, then just don't do too many. And you might even pause after, take your hand, do a little bit of tapping. So I'm just tapping through the iliotibial band, soft fist, shake it. And you might even go wrapping around from the iliotibial band as it connects onto the hamstring. And then also how the iliotibial band connects onto the top of the quad. Okay, roll onto your back. Notice how you feel. Ah, take a few breaths. And then we're gonna roll over onto left side. Okay, I'm just gonna turn around so that I can keep facing you. Okay, we're gonna do the myofascial release first. So some of you might even choose, oh, I want to go into the plow with the dowel, or you take your support and you plow through the iliotibia band. So the pressure is going in one direction from knee up towards hip. Okay, so the steady pressure helps to release long time fascial adhesions. It promotes hydration and slide and glide. It's really great for muscle recovery as well. Okay, so just taking that time here. Just doing both of the techniques really close together. So right here, I feel a little kind of adhesion here. So I'm going to feel my body wants me to pause, and it's asking me to do a little ball stack here. And I'm just going to do the squash ball underneath because I don't want to put too much pressure on. Okay, and then just kind of feeling that compression. So almost like you're kind of creating a sandwiching inward. If you want, in the side, you can always have something underneath, and then pushing down. You can also be lying. Okay? I find sometimes it's can be too much, but for some of us, it's not. You might also find that sitting, and so for me, on the side of the iliotibial tract, and then I'll do a little ball stack. See if I can show that. There we go. On top. So putting pressure from above is another way. And then you just want to breathe and let the muscles and fascia unwind. So this goes really deep down into the bone. Just remember, if body doesn't want to do this, you can let it go. This gets into really hard to reach areas. Okay, so just taking that time to explore those two tools of plow, maybe if combing is coming in, and then that ball stack, which is really moving into those areas of compression and getting down deep into the tissue. And just pause at any time and breathe. Notice how you feel. And then we're going to go into feeling a little shakeout before we go into three heel pose. So just kind of, I'm reversing orders of exploration, just so you can notice, does it feel better when I kind of shake out or tap before doing this? Does it do it after? Is it good both? So I just got hand into a soft fist, right? Just tapping. So instead of using dowel, we can just tap and then check in. As you exhale, this time I want you to feel this bottom foot. Okay, so I'm kind of wiggling my foot on the floor. For me, it's my left if you're lying on the left side with me. And you're going to push that bottom toes into the floor. And just see, can you feel the lateral line connecting a little bit? As you keep anchoring of pushing the floor away. And then if you move through three heel pose a couple times, noticing maybe even that spiral line coming in. widening through the back of the neck. So just do a couple. See if you can feel any slide and glide, any awakening of the hip. Try the slow-mo ball behind, which brings us into a little bit of a softer place of not being so extended, but still pushing bottom foot into the floor. So I'm just layering here. Breathing. And then getting into outer hip. Do we want to try internal? So when you internally rotate and the thighs come together, shin and foot is up. And then going into externally rotation without rolling back. Okay, so keeping anchored on that lateral line. So you might inhale as you go into internal and exhale into abduction. Notice you're not curved forward in body, but head, torso, hips all in one line. Good, yeah, great. Keep your shin and foot up. Some of you are letting your shin and your foot drop. There it is. Yep, great. Okay, just awakening the hip. Check in. Whew, you don't have to do too many of those to feel them. You might want to once again tap. Sometimes the other version of tapping is just cupping the hand, just having a nice little cup, and then you can tap. I particularly like the soft fist, but you might like the cupping. Ah, and then just want to feel a moment as we just roll on to back. Take out that head support if you were using the bolster. And just notice, do you need a little kind of wipering? A spinal twist is really helpful after all that lateral moves. You might even find the feet the width of the mat, which is a really nice spreading for the back. And then allowing the pelvis to exhale. So the right hip lift up off the floor, the legs to release to the left. Maybe the arms out to the side, maybe the head turns. And then you can very gently, as the legs come to the left, find your spiral opposite hip, opposite rib, right? Because we're in that twist. Whenever we're twisting, having that spiral connection is really helpful. You can also press whatever your top leg is, that big toe and inner heel, a little bit into the floor, and you can feel this release all coming through the top leg, thigh, psoas. So just letting that release a little bit into the intercostals. And then as you stop the pressing, you gently let the pelvis roll back, legs will follow, come back to center. When you exhale, you feel that connection of lower belly, the pelvis, the left hip lifts up off the floor, the legs go to the right. Maybe the head turns, maybe that left foot, big toe, inner heel presses into the floor. And feel that release all the way through the outside of the lateral line, through the hip flexor, going into the diaphragm, the intercostals. And then you just stop the pressing of the top leg foot and you let the pelvis roll you back, legs follow. And let's see, do I want to do that one more time? Nice axial rotation side, move from the pelvis, legs, let the spine follow rather than moving from the lower back. Press the big toe in or heel into the floor if you choose. And you release the leaning, recoil back to center. Pelvis leads and not lower back. Sometimes when we go into twisting, we lead from the lower back rather than the pelvis. And as you recoil and unwind back to center, I want you to check in. We're going to do two last arm movements to connect to the lateral line to just release. So you can do this in constructive rest. You can build yourself a heart bed if you want. Check in if you need support to sit on or if you feel good being right on the floor. Pelvis is really close to that bolster. Good. Coming down, re-lifting pelvis, lengthening, reaching out through sit bone, tailbone if you need. Check in sometimes. The ball, the block comes into the inner thigh. Feel an inhale, exhale, back of the hands to the floor. Just come in and feel your body as you are. Notice the stability of anchoring through lateral line that we did. Now we're going to just release through the intercostals and the integrity arm that works specifically the intercostal side body, upper psoas, is cobra hood. And so we're going to bring our hands up. We're going to be in Hakini Mudra. Okay, so this is our mudra, which connects to different parts of the brain, specifically the hippocampus for memory. It also connects all of your myofascia connection all the way up through your arms. So you're just pushing the pads of the thumb and the fingers gently into each other. Imagine you're holding a globe or a jewel in the palm of the hand. Elbows bend. Okay, so there's a little leaning through shoulder blades and rib cage into the bolster or the floor, a little gathering of the ball or the block just to find your connection to the deep front line or that spiral line that we explored. And then you're going to allow the arms to extend overhead. So, one thing when people go into cobra hood, they tend to bring the hands to the floor. It's not to the floor. So, because if you're on a heart bed, it is angling to the wall behind you. So as you start to go into extension with arms, the palm of the hands touch. You'll feel your inner elbows coming towards one another a little bit. So a spreading of back body, a wrapping around, and a reaching outward through the fingers and the head, but an anchoring down of your rib cage. So you're keeping that X connection. And so sometimes here I tend to exhale, which is opposition, what we normally do in extension, and then inhale as the elbows bend, the hands come back into Hakini Mudra. And so just play with your breath as the palms of the hands start to touch. There's equal leaning, wrapping of spreading of back body to front. So you're reaching. If you're in heart bed, it's a little bit of an angle. If you're flat on the floor, it's to the wall behind you. And then you come back, palms of the hands come back in Hakini Mudra, elbows wide, and check in and feel that slide and glide through the intercostals here. And keep a nice reaching at the top of the head, widening through the back of the neck, spacious throat, jaw. Maybe that SH breath comes in to keep the rib cage anchoring down. You can feel that slide and glide. And then we're just going to come in and finish with chopping wood. So the next time your hands come back towards heart and your elbows widen, then you're going to reach your arms up. Pads of the fingers are going to keep touching in Hakini Mudra. Let the elbows bend. So Joy always talked about that bow-like quality of the arms, so we're never in kind of tightening of the outer skin. We kind of feel the outer skin is soft. It's got a draping quality. That's when we can slide and glide. So we always want to make sure that there's a little bend of elbow, a little bend of knee, more if you need it. And then we're going to chopping wood. So equal leaning of thumb, index, middle, and pinky into each other. And so then you're going to go come up and then maybe you go overhead. So you can feel that movement. Okay, we're getting into lateral line here. Also thoracic body, shoulder blades sliding along the rib cage. So we have the shoulder blade, and then we have the bed of fascia, and then we also have the subscapularis, the rotator cuff. So sometimes when we have issues in the shoulders or pinched nerves or thoracic outlet syndrome or something like that, we can notice that maybe the shoulder blade isn't rolling or sliding across the rib cage how it should. And we feel a little bit stuck. So when the arms come up overhead, in this place, we can feel the shoulder blade slide upward, and then when the arms come up and then back down, the shoulder blade slides down the rib cage. Just notice, do you feel equal sliding? Do as many as you want. Okay, check in with self. When you're ready, arms released by your side. You can take the slow-mo ball out. You can stay in heart bed. You can allow yourself to come out. You can even take your blanket and cover yourself. You can bring your feet into butterfly if you want. You can support the outside of the legs. I like to also bring a little bit of weight in the body, and I'm just going to do this with the blanket so that can also be. I find sometimes some people just find like a little bit of weight, especially if you have the inner thighs opening. It just allows for a little bit of containment through the pelvis. It's quite an opening body. It's very vulnerable. Just check in. How do you want to be? Do you need any other movement? Breathing here. I'm just going to take a not as long here, but just a few more breaths of sinking in, and we'll be here for about 3 to 4 minutes. And just notice the practice, the feeling of your breath, your body, all of the integration from this weekend just starting to percolate and move through. Know that this is a continued integration awareness as we move from this workshop. I'm wanting to read a piece to finish this practice. So, this piece here is for when we're in moments sometimes of shutdown or in immobilization and we're not feeling okay. So, to acknowledge the presence of not feeling okay. And so I'll share this piece and all of the pieces that we've shared over the weekend. I will put it up in the resource. I'm not okay today. So, in the absence of okay, what else can I be? I can be gentle. I can be unashamed. I can turn my pain into connection. I can be a student of stillness. I can be awake to nature. I can sharpen my empathy against the stone of my discomfort. I am not okay, but I am many worthy things. I am not okay, but I am many worthy things. Mm. Thank yourself for the presence of meeting yourself on the mat for this level of play and discovery. Hmm. I'm just going to take one more minute here. Being guided to share with you. We have gone through this weekend with a lot of myofascial release and attention to nervous system and the levels of inner awareness, body, and outer awareness. These three streams of consciousness. And so remembering that we might even have our own personal kind of moments of healing or percolation of releases or something that feels ready to let go of from body. Creating spaces where you feel safe in order to be with yourself and allow for this release, this healing, this unraveling to take place of anything that no longer chooses to be held within you. And you come back to your full wholeness of who you are, and this full wholeness of who you are, feeling the three-dimensionality of your whole body. Remembering that we are multifaceted. So we feel body, we feel breath, this energetic resonance, the emotions, the thoughts, the wisdom, those moments that have percolated throughout the weekend. And at our very core, our Atman, our true self, the Purusha. And so breathe through all your layers, invite in any movement. You slowly start to come back to yourself in whatever way resonates for you. Take your time. Mm. You can even feel it when you come up to center, maybe the touching of the hands on the belly and the heart. This is where we started this morning. Sometimes in moments that maybe you want to connect to ventral vagal, another option too, which I find very comforting, is to even place the hand on the base of the skull and just let the hand release into the hand and the hand gently support the head. And then the other hand can be on heart. And just feeling this space of the ventral vagal system of connection and safety. Hmm. And thank you for sharing your time and practice.